Hi, my name is Taylor Angelica Lawrence, and I'm here to talk to you about my experience having a natural home water birth. And I'm just a bit distracted. My cat is needy, and my mom suggested it, and I thought that it would be great to share it for anyone that might be interested in knowing more. So, I am South African and currently living in Cambodia with my husband and my almost 3-month-old baby. And we live quite a wild life, but we are very well. We have a lot of links and people that we stay in contact with to make sure that we're always healthy and that our daughter is perfectly fine and being raised in the best possible way. Alright, so when we first moved to Cambodia, it was about 3 years ago. Was it 3? Not 3, like 2.5. Bushka, please go suck your tail somewhere else. She has a nasty habit of sucking her tail. I think she was taken away from her mom too young. We found her on the street. Alright. And I fell pregnant, and it was planned, and I decided I wanted to have my birth at home. So I went to South Africa. There I am surrounded by family and friends, and it's much more easier for me to be in a trusting space and be comfortable. I always knew that I wanted a natural water birth because my mom had a natural water birth. And I liked the way I was brought up, and so I just decided to do the same thing. I preferred to do it at home because a lot of what I'm saying is stuff that I've done a bit of research on, and mostly from the community and the people I'm around. So it might not be 100% true, and please feel free to correct me in the comments. So in hospitals, I felt like I wouldn't be comfortable, and as I would have a lot of strangers around me, and there's a lot of bright white lights in your face, and you can pay more to get a private room, and it's more like homely, but we didn't feel that was necessary when we have a good enough, perfectly well home. And you need to, as a woman that's going to be giving birth, you need to feel comfortable. You need to feel like you're in your element. You're trusting everyone around you. As often, if you're not comfortable and there's something slightly off, you can stop dilating and have an extra long labor. So I didn't want that, and I knew I was comfortable at home, and I completely trusted myself and everyone around me. So that's one of the important things to have, is to be able to trust. And if you feel like you can't trust but you still want to do it, I think you just go with the flow and you just know, okay, let's look at the facts. These are qualified people around me, loving people around me. I have everything I need, even though I feel like I'm too scared or nervous to do it, and I don't feel like I can trust anything. These are the facts, and so I'm going to trust the facts. And of course, you book an appointment in the hospital, so that if something goes wrong, you go to a nearby hospital and finish having your birth in the hospital. You even book a C-section in case that's where it goes. You're not blind about it. You need to be planned and well organized. And so I scheduled a C-section because if an emergency situation, most likely it would result in a C-section. So I did schedule one. Just as a backup plan, and luckily that was never needed. And so that's why I decided to do it at home. Sorry about, it's not a perfect room like you see in other YouTube bloggers' videos. We're still unpacking. We just recently moved into this house. We only decided to move to a new home because of the baby. We were previously staying in a house that was very noisy, and neighbors would burn plastic and fumes would come into the house. And so we didn't mind that, just the two of us, but with a baby we wanted more space, and here we're on a farm and she can grow up in nature, and that's amazing, but we won't be here for very much longer. Anyway, yeah, so that's the reason why I decided to do it at home. Natural, well, I've always grown up natural. Everything around me's been natural. I've always used homeopathic medicine. I only discovered what, what's that word for painkillers? Like headache painkillers? It is, it was almost just there. Oh my god. Anyway, I only discovered much later on in life, like age 14, that you could actually get medicine that stopped your headache, like a painkiller for your headache. And as my mum would, would always do the natural thing. So you, of course, when you have natural medicine, you do confront pain. That's one of the things. And I went to a Waldorf school, so that's always the way that I've known. So it wasn't anything new to me, and I wasn't scared about it. So I always knew I wanted to do a natural birth. I also know that the penacillin that's injected into women who are giving birth to stop the pain of labor, it can sometimes prolong labor because your body has contractions and pain with the contractions for a reason. If you listen to your body and you push when your body tells you to push, and you can feel what your body is going through, you're very connected to and in the same process of the birth mentally. And therefore you are following the journey of that birth. And so when it's time to push, you know how to push and for how long. But if you're not feeling any pain, you have to rely completely on the doctor who tells you when to push, and they examine from the outside when are the signs that they, with an educated guess, can tell you when to push. And so often the labor lasts a longer time because you're not feeling your contractions anymore. As well as the drug does have an effect on the infant, and the infant can be born a little bit like groggy and high. The infant can sometimes struggle finding the nipple to latch to breastfeed because he's too disorientated from the drug, and the drug can stay in the infant system up to 3 days later. So I knew I for sure didn't want that. And it's alright if you did do it. There's nothing against it actually, because I know everyone is different. We all have different opinions and we all have different ways of doing things. Some of us don't even have a choice. And I would have had to go through the same thing if my labor didn't work out the way I had wanted it to. And so that is why home, natural. Now why water birth? Well, I've always been loving nature, animals, whatever. I did nature courses. I did courses in the bush. I field ranger, guiding courses. And so I'm all about nature, essentially. And I love the idea of giving birth in water. Just within me, I always thought that was really cool and the most relaxing way to do it, and it would magnify the spirituality of giving birth, because I see it as a spiritual experience as a woman transforms into a mother and a couple transforms into a family. And so it's a very deep spiritual thing that happens, and it's almost like a portal that envelopes you and you suddenly are living new lives. And so I felt like water had a very big role to play in that, as well as me just loving water and loving being in water and the energy and the feeling that water brings. I wanted it to be in my birth. But when I actually gave birth, I realized what water actually does. I just thought, it was a cool idea and stuff, that it sat with me in my heart. But when I actually gave birth, I experienced the difference it actually makes. So I had a 9-hour labor. I actually thought it would be longer. I thought it would be around 20 hours, but I don't know where I got that information from. I was naive or something. And so I was expecting something much longer, and only afterwards people told me 9 hours is quite long, actually. What's around the normal? They say the normal labor period is about 8, so I only went around 1 hour longer. And often your first birth will be the longest. Usually after your first birth, every labor would never be longer than, and usually be shorter. And after your first, it's quite common to have a labor around 4 or 5 hours. That actually happens. And that sounds like a breeze, although it's not. And yes, of course, it hurt. You wouldn't need me to confirm that. You know that. Of course, giving birth hurts, but as part of the process, us women have been trained to give birth since we started our periods. It's initially the same feeling as period cramps, just like times 10. As your uterus contracts every time you have a period cramp, to push the blood out. And so it does exactly the same thing for birth, although it's much bigger because there's a baby, and it pushes harder because there's a baby inside of it. So of course the contractions or the cramps are much more intense. But there's a very good reason why we have those feelings. Without them, we would struggle giving birth a lot more. So we have that pain for a reason, and I believe we can all handle it. If we're living and we're breathing and we're experiencing life, we've had heartbreaks, we've had ups, we've had downs, we can do it. All of us. And if there's something that goes wrong, well, that's not your fault. That, things go wrong in life, and that happens. Nothing's perfect. And so the most important thing I would say, being someone who's given birth only once, and someone who's also researched many things on YouTube, is that you can have a plan. Don't be detailed about your birth. Okay, be detailed in the things that you need to have, and the setup, and who's going to drive you to the hospital if something goes wrong, or who's going to be your doctor in the hospital, whatever. Those details, yes. But your plan for your birth, just hold an image, hold a picture for it, and trust it, and kind of let go into it. But if something goes wrong and your birth doesn't work out how you planned, don't be upset. That happens to 1,000, a million, maybe 8 out of 10 women. And yeah, so I'm very lucky that my birth did go according to how I envisioned it, and how I planned. Alright, so on my next video, I'm going to go through the whole process of giving birth, of me giving birth, and my story on that day. And I'll explain, I've already explained why I did a home, why natural, and in my next video I'll explain why water. When I tell you my story, you will naturally realize why water helped me so much in my birthing process. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Even though I'm not collecting subscribers or likes or whatever, I'm just doing this because there might be someone like me that needs a bit of help or advice. You can use this as to what you want to do or even what you don't want to do, so up to you.